Hey, Vinnie, great to be talking to you. It's always a joy talking to you. I'm here to give you a quick view of you and your audience, a quick view of what we are doing in the industries at Salesforce. So,
Jujhar, always a pleasure talking to you. You know, I'm called Vinnie Vertical. So I'm always, I get energized when I have executives present to me about industry verticals and sectors and so on. So, you know, we did one last year. It was fantastic what you presented. So I'm sure it'll be better this year. Look forward to it.
I love the last name Vertical. I mean, follow your lead and call myself Jujhar Vertical too. It's great. So just to give you a quick view, our journey into the industries has been continuing at a very, very rapid pace. We are growing at scale at one of the fastest growing clouds even within Salesforce. We are accelerating our investment across the board in different industry verticals, and our customers are loving it. So the stickiness is super high. We are opening up new logos. And on the left-hand side, it just gives you a view of not where all our customer 360 products are sold, just where we have gone deeper and deeper across the spectrum of different industries. The more deeper the color, the deeper our industry vertical software is. So
last year you said you had financial services, retail, healthcare. Have you added any new ones? Are you emphasizing some more than others?
Absolutely. Vinnie, if you look at it, on the financial services side, we talked about opening up at the segment level. So we have now deep insurance vertical, deeply integrated the vertical acquisition that we did of Velocity. They brought a very deep insurance suite. So we have taken that, expanded it much more, integrated it with the financial services cloud. We opened up a new segment of corporate and investment banking. It shows up as a tiny speck at the top. The size of these boxes are where the size of the business is relatively. But corporate and investment banking was a new area that we opened up. Utilities was a new area that we opened up last year. We are accelerating our investments there. So those are some of the new ones.
You were strong in telco. Utilities is completely different, right? This is oil and gas utilities. Okay.
Absolutely. So oil and gas, we have not yet done a specific software, but for utilities, and this came partly from the acquisition of Velocity, but we have gone deeper on it and have started expanding that portfolio in much bigger way. And we have aggressive plans. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag right now, but some of the gray boxes that you see, you will start seeing some announcement of ours kind of going deeper into some of these gray boxes as well. But we are not stopping at, for the existing industries, we are going deeper, we are opening up new segments, and we are also looking to expand into areas where we have not got any vertical software. So some of these gray boxes, we are going to fill them up as well.
Okay.
Then just to give you a quick view of how the partner ecosystem is evolving. In Salesforce, it is super important on the industry side of the house that we look at the overarching ecosystem and build with them. That's true for our partnerships on the ISV side of the house. That's also true for our partnerships on the SI side. And both of those universes are expanding at a very rapid rate. I've just put some statistics on. We have roughly 130,000 people or experts, trailblazers in the communities, both of SIs and ISVs who are building on top of our industry ecosystem. We have roughly kind of 5,000 apps which are industry specific. So this motion of industries has been really adopted with open arms by all of our ecosystem as well.
Jujhar, I had two questions. So absolutely. I interviewed Tyler Prince, who leads your alliances, and it was fantastic to hear him talk about all the SI partners, some of the ISV partners, and the developer, the trailblazer. So your ecosystem strategy is very vibrant. So that's great. And you're obviously taking it down to industry lines. That's great. You had also mentioned last year, players like Encino and Viva and so on. Are you seeing more traction in the ISV ecosystem?
Absolutely. And this is where I'd like to, like we talked about Encino as well as IQVIA, those are companies who are building on top of our Salesforce platform. In case of the new ones that we just added to the mix, Rocket Incorporated, Rocket Mortgage is a company that comes to my mind. They are not only a customer of our software across sales, service, marketing, CDP, MuleSoft, but they have also started to take a financial services cloud and truly change the mortgage experience across the landscape. So that's another example of the industry-leading fintech, not only adopting our software, but also using it to transform for their customers in a much bigger way. So this is one which we are very excited about. This is going to go to next level. That's one. The partnership with AWS across the board is also extremely deep. On AI, we use them very heavily. That is expanding. There was a huge announcement on that in last year, but we are taking that same experience and using it for industry-specific scenarios. So those are the ones. And then I would like to point out, for example, you must have heard how we are very laser focused on net zero cloud and helping companies achieve the net zero status. This is where our partnership with Accenture, we are very, very deep with them. So across the spectrum of customers, kind of leveraging our technology and taking it to their customers, deep hyperscalers, plus SI partners like Accenture working very closely with us to expand that.
Jujhar, on the mortgage experience, let me tell you a personal experience. We're going through a refinancing right now. This bank has done every financing and refinancing on this house for 30 years. And you should see what I've gone through. It's been personal visits, phone calls, emails, their website. They have all the documentation. They've asked for some documentation every time for the last 30 years. It's crazy how bad the experience is.
Yeah. And our intention there is to make our software and financial services available to all our banking customers, including fintechs like Rocket, so that they can achieve what we call the one-click mortgage, that you submit everything very quickly, kind of you can get to the end result so that the customer experience that you are having can be radically changed. So that's very fundamental to how we are thinking about it. So I just wanted to give you a flavor because partners play a very important role on the industry ecosystem. But then let me switch gears and talk about when we look at the overall industry's investments, what are the big themes? As you already know, we focus on those 12 industry clouds. We leverage the whole platform. Rather than getting to a single view of the customers, we are actually providing an industry-specific view. It could be a member 360 in case of a healthcare payer. It could be a patient 360 for a provider. It could be a client 360 for financial services customers. We leverage the complete platform, but these are the 5 themes that we are very laser focused on. Number one is reimagining the industry. We are not just taking and rebuilding them on the cloud. We are trying to go and say, hey, how can we completely reimagine these industries? If you remember last time we talked about how in case of consumer goods, we have come up with the concept of smart selling, where we have leveraged AI to radically change that process. I'll share some more examples, but this concept of leveraging technology to reimagine industries is a very big theme for us. Secondly,
I imagine Slack is already starting to be part of the every year. Okay.
Absolutely.
I imagine you're going to talk about it, so I want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a color on that, and then I'll come back specifically to this. The second theme that we are pushing quite hard is last year we brought .org, also combined it with .com industries as well. And with the focus on net zero, we have actually taken an approach of building the next generation of corporate social responsibility platform. We call it impact platform. I'll actually specifically give you more color on what are the investments that we are doing. For our regulated industries, the industry-specific AI and compliance is still a top theme for us. We are expanding it in a much, much bigger way. And then the part that I would also like to emphasize is the world is changing. And self-service and digitization is a huge piece. So service excellence as a theme, not only for the call centers of the house, but also takes self-service instead of the traditional domain of B2C. We are actually putting a lot of investment across industries to transform the B2B experience and make it much more self-service, whether it is media, doing ad sales, whether it is communications, B2B, across multiple industries, the B2B self-service angle also is something that we are emphasizing in big fashion. And the one area that I'm uniquely proud of is what we have done along with having pre-built data models, processes, analytics, AI, is this concept of insights. If you remember last time we talked about it, we had started this, but we have started to expand it in a much bigger fashion because our belief is every industry customer can learn something from their industries and their adjacent industries. So this is where we bring benchmark information, new trends by doing insights and making it available to our customers. So this is the theme of the digital first industry insights. I'll put a little bit more color on that. So just to give you a quick flavor on the reimagination. So rightly said, Vinnie, you were calling out Slack. We believe it has a huge impact on radically changing the user experience. Conversational user experiences across different industries leveraging Slack. We talked about it for banking in corporate and investment banking last time. We are expanding that portfolio to bring more and more industries into the experience. So reimagination with the help of conversational user experiences is a big theme. The world with COVID has dramatically changed. There is no doubt about it. So this is where hybrid experiences, virtual experiences have become extremely important. We are investing very heavily in it across multiple industries, whether it is health in form of virtual health or volunteering in form of virtual volunteering. The concept of virtual everywhere, but how it interplays with the physical interactions. That hybrid experience is a theme that we are pushing across multiple industries from a reimagination standpoint. Health with the pandemic has dramatically changed the whole canvas. So the one area where we are trying to reimagine health in a much bigger fashion is thinking about not just clinical, but holistic health, behavioral health, social determinants of health, bring the whole picture together. But then also move away from just clinical scores. So we are introducing a concept of universal health score, which actually incorporates all of these different dimensions to give you one score, and different companies are leveraging their own metrics. But then based on that universal health score, you can put patients on different journeys and really be very proactive. And this is also.
Let me ask you about hybrid. One of the things that in the last year, as we start traveling again, as we see all the labor shortages and so on, the physical world experience appears to have deteriorated, right? Are you getting what are you getting? What kind of feedback are you getting from customers that the digital experience is improving, but we need to improve the physical experience also? Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I think the element is, if you consider them in the silos of physical and virtual, you are always going to see deterioration. Our thesis is rather than looking at them in silos, we are looking at them in a continuum. So I'll give you an example. All of us pre-pandemic love to go to banks, sit with our banking advisors, work different things with them. In the new universe with all these restrictions, we kind of extended our scheduling solutions so that that journey can actually be made much more better from an experience standpoint by combining the digital pre-scheduling and then landing in a bank to do that same experience in a much more safe fashion. So our version of making those experiences much more relevant is not consider them in silos, one or the other, but see the interplay between virtual and physical and use those digital experiences to improve both ends of the spectrum. Because even, for example, when you talk to your banker who is in a physical location, you want that same input that he collects to go back for a virtual visit next time you use those inputs. So we believe it is a continuum. We just are adding this virtual as an experience to add to the physical experience as well and help it become much better.
You know, I know you've been talking about Salesforce everywhere. That's a great point. I think you should probably emphasize that more when it comes to verticals. I think people in verticals aren't seeing that enough.
Great point, Vinnie. We are investing heavily. We will try to make sure that our customers are getting that message also with the investments that we are. The last part I wanted to call out is all the reimagination that we are doing is not specifically for commercial industries. It's also for our public sector customers. And as all of us kind of have to interact with the government, we all feel, hey, they are too cumbersome, too slow. So the reimagination that we are doing is focused on speed, AI, and transparency. How many times we wish that, hey, we knew why our application was rejected. So this is where we are actually building explainability services that can be exposed by our public sector customers on their websites to exactly know, hey, this is the reason why your application was either incomplete, or this is how we calculated your license fees, so that in one transparent website, they can understand the whole thing. So the reimagination that we are trying to focus in public sector is based on AI, helping them become much more efficient, speedy, as well as transparent. So I just wanted across different industries.
Oh, this is great. You know, you should sell this to every ambassador in every country. I mean, that is probably the worst in terms of information transparency.
I would agree. This is an area that I believe can help touch everyone's life and in a very, very positive fashion. So we are excited about these investments. And these are just some examples of it. We talked about conversational user experiences in healthcare, on care management, how we can bring Slack, the digital headquarters, that all of the care team can swarm together to solve and give a great patient experience. In case of nonprofits, fundraising is their lifeblood. How can all the team work in tandem with one another in experiences that they can actually generate huge funds? And finally, on the education side of the house, student experiences is key. Student experience, if all the admin as well as the teachers all can work in tandem with one another and swarm to solve student experience problems, it will be a very different experience. So I've just given you a few examples of how we are thinking about these conversational user experiences across different industries. Now, let me share.
The key point you made was swarm, right?
Absolutely.
The people jumping to solve errors or people jumping to solve problems is critical.
And for us, it is also kind of timely is a very big portion of it. Swarming and getting the notifications in a very quick and easy fashion to take timely action makes it a completely different experience for the people who are at the receiving end. So this is one of the themes that we talked about at the outset. We are very excited about it. And this is where we are trying to build the next generation of what we call impact platform for corporate social responsibility. You've heard our announcements on the net zero cloud, where we are laser focused, helping our customers become net zero in a very effective fashion. But we are not stopping it there. What we are trying to do is, if you look at the universe of impact, there are multiple players, there are multiple offerings, but they all operate in silos. What we are trying to deliver is one holistic suite, which is focused on the spectrum of ESG, philanthropy, and all areas of corporate social responsibility. And Salesforce is fortunate enough that between .org assets of nonprofit, philanthropy, as well as .com assets of what we are investing on the net zero side of the house, we have a complete spectrum, but we are now laser focused on delivering one holistic suite rather than point solutions for solving each one of these problems.
Jujhar, the net zero, is that a horizontal or is it by verticals? Because, you know, clearly some industries, utilities, for example, it's a very high impact, the renewables and so on.
Phenomenal question. And just to give you, Vinnie, a perspective, the core of the investment we are building, it is horizontal, but it is housed within the industry scheme, because one of our key principles was, if you want to make sustainability and really actionable, you need to take an industry specific view of it. So like you were talking about on the elements of utilities, energy and utilities, the flavor of what we can do, just not on carbon accounting and showing people how to reduce it to net zero, the work that they can do in renewable energies by running programs, the work that they can do in, we can actually build software for managing the virtual power plants, because more and more people add solars to their houses, they are going to become generator of electricity, giving utility companies some of that software that they can manage. So we have the core investment on net zero, but industry flavors that directly tie it back to that as a key process in the whole picture. So the second area, does that answer your question, Vinnie?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
The second theme for us, which was quite important in building this next generation impact platform, as we call it, is impact driven, but impact measurement driven. So if you think about all the programs that we launch, whether it is corporate giving, they want to have a certain impact, but majority of the solutions, there is no way to actually check the impact. When you invest dollars, you want to see what was the final impact on it. So we wanted to make this whole process much more scientific by making it impact driven. Thirdly, our belief is that the propensity for people to share knowledge in case of impact themes is much higher. So our focus on building of exchanges remains heavy. We already have Philanthropy Cloud, which acts as a many-to-many exchange, but our belief is in this portfolio, expanding to other exchanges is going to be extremely useful. And finally, using AI to actually figure out if you are going to have an impact across multiple themes, because a company may say, hey, I want to have impact in sustainability. I want to have impact as far as DEI is concerned. I also want to have impact in a certain cause for my local communities, like education of girl child. They can actually define those impacts, but then we can use AI to give them a set of projects for a given budget, how to optimize and have the highest impact. So using optimization, AI-based optimization to have the highest impact for a given budget is also part and parcel of this process. So this is an exciting realm that we have started to invest. It's going to be extremely relevant across multiple industries, but across our impact portfolio, whether it is nonprofit, philanthropy, wellness, and even in case of public sector, if you think about child welfare or financial assistance public sector entities are making those investments, they want to have the highest impact. So we will use some of those same principles across corporate and public sector, both ends of the spectrum. So this is another theme that we are pushing quite hard. And then the last one that I want to quickly give you a flavor of is the insights, the benchmarks. So we have had this industries team that provides an outside-in view of the industries that we serve. Think about them as the internal analyst team that provides data, insights, and perspectives. But this not only helps us modify our product and solutions roadmap, but it helps us be trusted advisors to our customers. We started with a practice in retail and consumer goods on the back of our shopping index, where we have data from over 1 billion shoppers. And we actually strip out all the PII information, and it has now become the de facto standard of what's happening in digital. We have expanded beyond
this is your data, right? Not some market research.
No, absolutely. This is our data, which we are leveraging and giving people benchmark information. And
this is finally coming together. This has been the promise of the cloud, right? Anonymized data, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have expanded it beyond the platform data. What we now do is we also run and conduct several global research reports. We have done it for financial services, we have done it for manufacturing, we have done it for retail. So our focus is for every industry that we operate in, we are going to provide insights, not only product, software, solution, processes out of the box, but insights to really go hand in hand with the rest of the software.
So, give me an example of an insight in manufacturing.
Insight in manufacturing would be the different trends, for example, that are happening in case of industries on the shop floor. We actually run reports. We ran a report with, I think, 1,000+ manufacturers giving us input on the different dimensions. And one of the key themes that came out was the processes of advanced forecasting is simply in pandemic has even become harder. So we actually use that input to go back to our product roadmaps also, look at the elements that they called out were key areas that were holding them back, but help push that in a much bigger fashion. So that's an example of on the manufacturing side, when we did the reviews of how has pandemic affected them, their element was forecasting has become much more harder. So we went back to the drawing board to say, how can we make it much more simpler given the constraints that we have? So that's a picture of the industry insights. That's what I had in store for you today. It has been a joy talking to you. Any final questions that I can answer?
Jujhar, this is great. So it sounds like you haven't, you're sticking to your 12 industries still, but you're clearly going deeper into many of them. And you're bringing the everywhere concept, hybrid, you're bringing in the new dimensions from the new year. So you keep evolving.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinnie. I think, as I said, we have plans to even expand beyond those 12, but we will share as the year progresses. But we are definitely going deeper. And as you go into the different segments, it's like opening up a completely new industry. Corporate investment banking software is very different from what we need on insurance, with policy, claims, open quoting. So every one of those segments has deep flavors. We are helping our customers be really relevant even at the segment level.
So Jujhar, put on your analyst hat. I always like to get my guests to put on their analyst hat. How are you seeing the competitors evolve? Clearly there've been a couple of acquisitions, right? Oracle's acquired Cerner, and Rockwell acquired Plex, which is a manufacturing manager. So there've been some movements, but what are you seeing in the competitive landscape? Has it changed in the last year?
Absolutely. I think the one thing which is heartening is everyone has made vertical investments top product, whether it is Microsoft, whether it is Google, whether it is Oracle. Oracle had a deep industry practice even in the past, but I think they have notched up their investments one level too. So what is heartening is the thing that we have been investing in for the last 5-6 years, building these deep industry verticals in the cloud, everyone is validating it. So that's the heartening part for us. And so we love that. So more competition helps us be on our toes in a much bigger fashion. But I would also say, Vinnie, that it's not just the big tech shops that are investing very heavily on verticalization. Individual companies are actually taking, and they may be just focused on one small space, but the trend of investment across the board is huge and is expanding. What we like about it is that tech is a universe where cooperation exists. We may compete in certain areas, we are going to cooperate in other areas. So that actually helps the opportunity and the avenues of building great software and taking it back to our customers a much easier experience. We love that fact. So more the merrier.
I like your, they're validating what we started. There was a book, I think in the 1980s, called Soul of a New Machine. It was about a data general. The author was given an opportunity to see how data general introduced a new product. And in that book, they mentioned data general ran an ad campaign when IBM brought out a competitor, right? And I don't think they ever ran the campaign, but it went something like, the market says IBM's entry into the mid-market will validate the market. The bastards say welcome. A little bit controversial, but it was really, really impactful. So, congratulations for leading the market. And like you say, the others are validating what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Vinnie. It has been joy talking to you. Thank you.